Hey guys, welcome. So in this last week, things that we learned in Power BI, figured we take it to the next level. Instead of doing a bunch of things that we've been doing at this point, I figured we talk about data marts a little bit. And one of the things that we learned like last week was, putting a Power BI together. One of the obstacles were, and it was around one of the questions that I had in discussions was, talking about other tools like Tableau where you could upload a file on the fly, you do it within the application, but the obstacle, and then you were able to download Tableau for whether you're using a Mac or a PC, but Power BI has some limitations because you have to have a Windows to be able to run the desktop version, and in order to run the web version that we're looking at right now, you have any operating system, but there's limitations on the data that you want to push in, so you have to do it from the desktop version. And if you want to get a big file in, or if you want to get data, you want to paste it in, you could do that obstacle, but then you're kind of limited still. So there's a lot of limitations going on. So I thought it would be cool to provide a way to show you how to set up a data mart. And I think we talked about data marts in this class a little bit, but if not, I just wanted to provide a refresher. So what is a data mart and why do you need it? So I think James had mentioned data warehouse, that you use something at Wesco. So a data warehouse is, let's start at that level, highest level, data warehouse. So you think at Amazon, they have multiple warehouses all throughout different states. So in Pittsburgh, they have one off of 376. If you're going, I think it's 376 or whatever it's called, 576, going toward the airport. Humongous warehouse. So when you think of data warehouses, think of it in the same scenario. It's this large warehouse that houses data for everything. So, data warehouses are used for many companies, organizations have them, lots of companies have them. It's a location where the data could be used for, they call it fact data. Fact data could be used for dimensional purposes, predictions, analysis, etc. So a data mart is basically a simple form of a data warehouse, but it's focused on a single subject or a line of business, for example. So let's say that you have a line of business that pertains to sales, financing, marketing, IT, etc. That is what data marts are. They are focused on a specific part of the business, and it's not real-time data. So the data is refreshed every 24 hours. So when you get the data, you're going to get the data from the day before and so forth. And so what we're going to do is we're going to walk through how to create a data mart on here. So then you can upload all your data and show you some of the cool things that you could do with setting up a data mart within Power BI. And it just goes to show you that what happens here is Microsoft is utilizing the other platforms that they have in place. So we'll go through, figure out how to create a data mart, create an account. If you don't have one, we'll talk about what that is in a minute here. We'll talk about how to create a visual query. The idea this week, which being your last week, we'll use an exercise video that I have in here that I'll upload to the lab for this week. But the idea here is to find data out there, come up with your own data, go through the process, make some changes to the data, and use that data. So like a whole sequence of events. Individual assignment. So I would say, first and foremost, make sure that you are here app.powerbi.com/home, which, we've talked about how to get here, which some of you are already using. The other thing is to come up here, and I think it's under settings. Sure. Yeah. If you have the upgraded, if you have the Power BI series, then you'll have the premium version of Power BI, which will allow you to do the things that we want to do within Power BI, and we'll figure that out in a second here. So I see the first thing that we need to do is go to Workspace. So over on your left side, click Workspace. I already have one, but I'm gonna create a new workspace. So create a new workspace, call it something. So I'll call it Point Park and Visual Data Course. Perfect. And I'll click Save. You could call it whatever you want to call it. So now I don't want to go to the tour. I'm just going to click that. We could add some content. First thing that we want to do is check our settings. So I think that's not what I want. Go over to settings right here and see if you have the premium. So click on premium, and the next thing to do is click on, because here's the thing, if you look over here, we don't have DataMart. So choose premium per user. Leave this all the same. So if you're connected with your pointpark.edu account, then you'll get something similar to this, and click Save and just put change capacity, continue. Yes. All right, so now our changes have been saved. So I'll click that, and so now we can add content, we could do something. So let's go ahead and create a new data mart. Call it whatever you want to. I'll call it PPU. And you don't have to do anything here, and then just click create. So this will take a minute or two to create. So we'll go ahead and create that. In the meantime, I am going to expose a file for you. So give me a second here. While we are waiting, Alexa, can you play the famous song by Jeopardy?
Shuffling theme from Jeopardy. Think music and similar songs on Amazon Music.
Alexa, decrease volume by 3. Thought this was appropriate while we're waiting. So we are in the last module, which is module 12. Perfect. Alexa, you can stop. Alexa, stop. She really didn't want to stop there. So anyhow, she came in real good handy there. So let me get that file there, and I'll show you where it's at. What we're going to do is copy this out. We're going to use this file in our lab for the week. All right, so it is a yeah. So this is wrong one. This is it right here. Adventure sales data that I got from internet that I pulled off Kaggle. So what we're going to do is we have all these different scenarios that we could use. We could import from SQL Server. We could create a data flow, which will create a data flow, or we could create from another source. So you could click on this, and what it'll do is it'll bring up a bunch of other options. So you could get this information here as well. So if you wanted to pull from Azure DevOps, if you wanted to pull from something along that along that area, then you could do that as well. So there's tons of different places that you can deliver from or pull from. But anyways, let's see here. All right, so you can pull from all these different areas if you wanted to. So I'm not going to pull anything from there. I'm going to hit cancel. All I'm going to do is I'm going to choose Excel. So this is the workaround, pulling some data in there. If you have your file in here, so if you pull up Point Park, you should have that eventually. So I'm going to click upload. I'm going to do downloads, nope, document, data visualization, boom. I'm pulling that Excel file here, which is 13 megs. Now, this video will be multiple videos. This is a small video to get us started. Now, it might be a connection here. It has no connection, no gateway. Make sure you sign in your Point Park, so that'll make it easier. I'll click next. So now what it's doing is connecting to the data source. It should get something like this that connects to your personal SharePoint that you could use. So now perfect. So now we have our data up and running. So what we're going to do here is it broke down our data into almost like fact tables. So fact tables are specific information. So we're not going to select all of them. We're going to select customer, date, product, reseller, sales, and sales order. And we'll keep it simple. And then we're going to click on transform data. And this will take probably a minute or two. So in this case right here, what we're getting to is we're able to pull up the data. It pulls up a window that looks very similar to if you were on Windows. So you could click on sales order, so you can pull in information. You could make modifications. You could come up in the table up here and make modifications to the query itself. So if you want to go into any of these and you want to make changes, this would be a location to do it, but we could change it somewhere else as well. So I'm going to click save, though I don't think my computer's fast enough to keep up with changes. Now it's going to go through and do query processing. It's going to extract, transform, so it's going to do the ETL aspect of it. It's going to create a relationship for us. It's going to start loading the data. It's loading all this data into a DataMart right now. So right now what we're doing is we're building a DataMart under our workspace. So now that we build this DataMart, we'll be able to capture that information and build off of that and do things with that DataMart. So this would be more or less the analysis aspect of it. So we can run analysis from this aspect as well, which is beautiful. All right, so wrapping things up. So it's showing you how many rows of data. So, 120,000 rows, lots of data. As we wait for this information to come in here, you have different options here. You could do to get data, which brings up that other window that we brought up shortly, or a minute ago, which brings up other options that you could do. You could grab data from other resources for whatever information you want to do. You want to do transform data that allows you to make modifications to it. If you want to input new data manually, you could come in here and input new data. If we want to do a new SQL query, we could run a query against the data, and we'll talk about that. You could do reports, measuring, and so forth. So there's a series of different things that you could do in here. Okay, so I'm going to drill into tables. If you want to look at the data, so we'll go with sales since it's a lower number. So we'll wait for that to load. Wow. So the model's taking forever to load. Let's do this while we're waiting. Let's go to, let me show you model, for example. So model is nice because it shows you a pattern between the 5 environments, well, 6. So we could build if we wanted to, we could build some type of diagram that shows how the tables talk to each other, what's the relationship. So that allows us to do something like that. So that's nice. In this case, I'm gonna go over to query. So you could drag a table, something that you want to do queries on. So for example, let's say that we want to do sales for whatever. So I'll drag it over to sales. It starts to load it up. I'm not sure who in here is familiar with SQL, which stands for Structured Query Language. So it's pulling the data from here directly. So it gives you a little snapshot of the data, what we have. So just kind of getting this, it looks like, all right, so we have extended amount, unit price, total product cost, sales amount, standard cost, discount. I'm trying to see something we could use here. Quantity, maybe we could just grab it. So let's do this. Let's do a new SQL query. And so what we could do, instead of grabbing all that data, we could do a select statement. We could say select top 100 star from everything from sales. So what that'll do is it'll pull us from the sales table and it'll pull up the top 100 records. And it doesn't mean it's top 100 based off of price, but it's going to give up top 100 records from record 1 to 100. Hit run. All right, so it pulls up this data and gives us an idea to kind of look at the data, what's out there. So if we want to make modifications to it, You could also go into sales, so that way you can see what the column names are. So some of the column names I don't like how they're made, but whatever. They're all funky when you pull up. So if you wanted to do, say, top unit price, so if you wanted to say, hey, you know what, I want to see the, if I want to do sales, what can be my sales amount. So if I wanted to, this is how I need to check here. Instead of doing all, I'm gonna do a couple things. I'm gonna do customer key right there, and then I want to do sales amount. So okay, so you see how it has the sales amount right here. So when you have, and this is database 101, you never have a table or fill with separation. You want to have the things together, but in this case, they have them separated. So in order to do that, you have to use brackets amongst them to be able to get the information. So we're going to say, give us the top 100 customer key, sales amount from sales, and we'll say where, let's do this here. We could say, let's order by sales amount, and we'll do descending. So that'll give us the from the highest down, from the top. So let's hit run. All right, so SQL does not like my query for some reason. So let's do this and see if it runs it. Oh, I see, because I ordered by sales. So let's pull that out. Didn't like that. All right, should work this time. As you see, it's taking a minute. All right, so it pulled up customer keys. I don't know what those keys reference. I thought maybe that would be our customer account, but whatever. It references the top cells. So you see 278.93.61 all the way down. So it provides that information. You could visualize those reports if you want to. So you can come in here and build a data set off of it and say build visuals based off of that. So now you see what you're doing here is you're going back to the stuff that we've already learned. We're taking the data that we're querying and pulling into something. So this week's assignment, what I want you guys to do is find that Kaggle report. I want you to build a data mart, but I want you to go in here and make modifications to your data. I want you to, for example, let's go back to this right here. So let's go back to, let's see what products that we have. So let's say select top 100. So let's get rid of that. Let's see what products that we have real quick. Product. We'll just grab everything. Let's run that. Let's pause. Now, as you can see here, so I had to go back and change it to select all from products. So we could, if we wanted to do something specifically on here, we could select all from products, and maybe we only wanted to list the items that were, say, under a certain amount. So what we could do is we could identify what those amounts are. So we could do standard costs and then we could do a group by standard costs. And so this way, if we run this, we can at least get an idea of what our standard cost is. All right, so it doesn't like all these terms, group by. Oh, okay. It tries to auto sense everything, auto intelligence. All right, it doesn't like that either. Group by, you can't do a group by in here. Credentials provided, SQL is invalid. That is the right way of doing it. All right, so group by, let's do this. Standard cost. Run it again. Huh. That is a term, so it doesn't like that for some reason. Nah. So let's do it a different way. So let's say select distinct. Group by is the better way of doing it, but this will work as well. It doesn't. So it must not have certain terms in here. All right, so we can't really get so the SQL on here, the limitation of SQL has some things that you can't do. So some of the query terminology you can't run for some reason. I'm not sure why. Oh, it's not even letting me run that now. Select all from product. Alright, so something's really jacked up. What the hell is going on? So let's do this. New query. And let's say select all from product. See if it lets me do that. Alright, so I don't know what's happening here with my connection. I lost my connection or something. Anyways, I'm going to skip this because I'm not sure what's going on with my connection. But you've seen how you query it. So the idea is to query the window and kind of make changes to your data. So if we wanted to select all from the product and we wanted to going back to my first query, maybe that will still work. So it's trying to run it, credentials. So my credentials are jacked for some reason. So anyways, I'm not going to really worry about it right now. But find that, and you could come up here and manually update your set based off of that changes. So take your data down to a lower data set. Find something, and then we can modify it. But so if you went into, say, manual update set, I don't know if it'll pull it up. And so let's say we wanted to not select all, we wanted to select product, for example. We'll go to confirm. It probably won't let us run an update statement on here either, which is the easier way of doing it. But so hit OK. All right, so something's wrong with my, anytime I do a demo, nothing works anymore. So limitations for some reason. Let's do this. I might want to reboot. Let me pause this for a second. I refreshed my screen and it allowed me to pull up the data again. So what I want you to do in the exercise is something a little bit different. I want you to find specifically what you're looking at to save. So for example, in this case right here, we have different things. So we have mountain frames, we have road bikes, we have mountain bikes, we have different items that we sold. So in this case right here, we'll see if it allows us to do it. We'll say where the standard costs. Let's see if it pulls it up. I was hoping to pull it up, but it didn't. So we can say where the standard cost is greater than or equal to, we'll say a certain amount. So we'll say greater than equal to 200. Let's see if it lets us run it. So that way we can see what the cost is. All right, so perfect. And then what we can do here, we get ordered by. We can say ordered by standard cost, and we could do descending from the highest to the lowest. So we know that it's going to equal 200 or more, and so we can see that the highest brand is 2,100, and then our lowest is obviously 200. So I want you to, you can use this data if you like, or you can use your own data. That's completely up to you. And I want you to do something like this. Go in and change your values around to do something else so that you can create a visualization of that. So for example, let's say that you wanted to do that one. So go in here and do visualization and do the same that you learned last week and show in your, record a video, YouTube, whatever, and go through and talk about, hey, this is what I had originally. I went in here and ran a query statement. And if you're unsure about query statements, see me, I can help you out. And just drag your information up and build a little, build a diagram. So you can take your SQL query right here. You could select what you want. So for example, you want to select your product, you want to set your list price, maybe your category, and do the stuff that you learned and provide that information over here. If you want to break that down a little bit further, do that as well. So what we're doing is a little bit different exercise this week. We're taking the DataMart that we created and we are using queries on top of that. Okay, so let's go back to my workspace. Let's go back to home here. So what you could do is when you come back here and you go into your workspace, you can see, okay, I have this Point Park workspace, And then you can see you have your DataMart, and then you have your data set. So you can change your DataMart if you want to. You want to rename it, whatever the case is. You have your data set, so maybe you want to analyze it in Excel. Maybe you want to create a report. Maybe you want to create a data report. Whatever the case is, you can pull back to this. So what we're doing is we're doing things a little bit different. We're creating our own DataMart. We're pulling in the data, and we're examining the data, making modifications to the data. So that's an analysis aspect of it. And then we're running a report on it. So that right there is called a way to identify something and modify it on the fly. If you have questions on this video, please reach out. If not, thank you for watching and have a good day.